Welcome to the Geek Podcast, where E3 is upon us. I'm Void, and I'm here with my co-host Beej.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Today we're talking about E3. Probably no geekery today. Probably just the main topic, because E3 is always a huge topic. I know
E3 is pretty much
years,
all the geekery.
It is. I mean, in past years, we've tried to cover a little bit of everything, and we've tried different approaches to E3 every year. This year, I think we're just going to try to hit the highlights, like the things that we specifically want to talk about, and just not even mention the rest. So with that being said, overall, my one takeaway before we get into the details, I think that the first half of 2020 is going to be crazy for game releases if none of these get delayed. Have you noticed how many games are coming out in spring or summer?
Yeah, I remember it was either last year or the year before that we had a joke on here about that the games were all releasing in March-ish.
Yes.
And that's the way 2020 is going to be. That's all I could think of when I was seeing dates is we're going to have A, no money, and no time. B, no time during that period next year. It's everything at that point. It's crazy.
It's just crazy. Okay, so let's get into, basically, we're just going to run through press conference by press conference, but like I said, we're not touching on most things, just the things that we want to call out. So EA was up first this year, and the only thing I really want to talk about here is Jedi Fallen Order.
And that's pretty much the only thing EA has done in years that I'm even remotely interested in, and the only reason I'm even remotely interested in it now is after watching the 15 minutes of gameplay, because I wasn't sold on it until then, and now I am cautiously hopeful.
Yeah, it's interesting. They said it's kind of Metroidvania-ish, which I could kind of maybe see from the gameplay. I think we would need longer with the game to be able to tell that. But I mean, if that's what they're saying, I trust them. It's kind of channeling Metroid Prime is what it looked like. Yeah,
that's the way I would think about it, where when I think Metroidvania, I automatically think of something 2D, but really Metroid Prime did it in 3D, and we're going to have that again. So yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's set after Order 66, but before Rogue One is kind of the time period that we're working with. And it's not hack and slash combat so much as it's a measured third-person combat. It honestly looks kind of like an approachable Dark Souls. It's not that crushing. I know you're gonna do that. It's not that soul-crushing Dark Souls brutal combat, but it does look like a derivative of it that's made a little bit more approachable.
And that makes me really sad, actually. I was honestly hoping that if they didn't go the RPG route, that they were going to go with, say, a Force Unleashed route, and they didn't. They went with more of that, like you said, the more deliberate and measured Dark Souls style, which I don't particularly like. But when watching the videos of it, it doesn't look like Dark Souls. It just looks like it could be a little bit more considered in what you do. So I'm not unsold on it. I'm not filing for my return, but I'm not pre-ordering it just yet. They also said that right now, there was an interview that I was reading earlier today, and we're recording this on Tuesday of E3, the 11th, and there was an interview that I read today where they were talking about the difficulty, not wanting it to be Dark Souls difficult, but right now the gameplay was probably more difficult than they wanted it to be, that it was approaching that. So they needed to be able to pull that back before release.
Well, they still have 5 months, something like that. Yeah, there's time.
So, I mean, that's a long time to tune it.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it's Star Wars. I'm going to buy it. But, I mean, we've talked about that already. So, besides that from EA, the next up was Microsoft. I think there's nothing really anything else for EA that was worth talking about, which is sad, but also not that unexpected. Microsoft, though, there's a bunch of stuff, and this was probably the biggest press conference of E3 so far, just because PlayStation wasn't there. So Microsoft got all of these world premieres of all sorts of different things. And a couple of the highlights for my kids were in this one. They watched a lot of these with me. They didn't watch everything in E3, but they watched a lot of it. They were super excited for Minecraft Dungeons, and I think I'm excited by proxy, because it's Minecraft Diablo.
Yes,
you know
it
those
is.
Two games, it is Diablo, but just set in the Minecraft world, and my kids really want it, and it looks like a game that I could play with them that's not just Minecraft again. I play Minecraft with them, but not all the time. This is a game that I bet I would play with them more than I play actual Minecraft.
this is a game that I could see myself playing because I like Minecraft. I just don't like playing Minecraft. So this is taking the building part of it that I can never get into, and it may give me something to be able to mess around with because I really like that voxel pixelated look that it's got and always have. And they announced this afternoon that it's going to be on the Switch as well as Xbox and PC. So that's just more reason for the kids to get it and, for me to pick up eventually.
Yeah, it looked fun. And then my daughter was also super excited for Spiritfarer. Did you see this one?
I didn't see this one. This one and the next one on your list, Way to the Woods, I haven't seen anything about. Somehow those I missed.
Okay, so she was excited for both of these, and they both look like more like indie type games. And I don't know if they were Xbox exclusive or not. I wasn't really paying as much attention to exclusives this year. But Spiritfarer, it looks like you're on a boat and you like build the boat out and you build it up and you make like residences, and it's almost like 2D like Animal Crossing. Like there's people who are living on your boat and you interact with them and you like build it up and you travel, and it looks like a heartfelt type of indie game with some kind of like meaningful story behind it, but it's also like bright and colorful. And yeah, it wasn't a grimdark shooter, which there were plenty of those. There always are at E3. So that one was pretty cool looking. And then
it is very pretty. I'm looking it up right now, and yes, it is beautiful animation.
Yeah, and then Way to the Woods was it looks like 2 deer. So there's one with antlers that glow, and then there's like a little fawn also. And it just looked like you were trying to probably get back to the woods. Like it had a lot of them in the city, and it was it reminded me of like Journey. That style of game where you're trying to get from point A to point B, but it's kind of like a pretty and interesting visual platformer. Yeah. But chill is the vibe that I got.
That would be one that I know my wife would like. She likes those kinds of games. Journey is like one of her favorite games ever. So having another one like that would be great, especially if there's some more puzzles in it, and there surely are. But it looks great too. When you said both of those, I started looking up the trailers and listening and watching. And yeah, that one looks like I would like it. Like it looks silly, but in the best way that's not dumb silly,
Yeah, he breaks
it could be meaningful
with his horns
silly.
and he gets the thing out of it. It's cute.
Yeah, exactly. It's cute, silly, and I could see it making me cry at the end of it.
Yep, probably. That makes sense.
Yep.
And then Cyberpunk, that came back. There wasn't really a whole lot of new info. There was a new gameplay trailer or cinematic trailer of the end of a mission. It's kind of hard to tell which way that went. But the big things that came out of it were spring 2020 is the release date, if it actually happens, if it's going to release along everything else in March-ish of 2020. And then Keanu Reeves, right?
Yeah, no, right? I am so into Keanu Reeves right now, like everybody else, and it's all because of Always Be My Maybe. And like seeing him in Cyberpunk is the best part of E3 for me, because like I'm so into the Matrix. Like I love him. Like he is always going to be Neo. He's always going to be the one. And some people are like that with him and Johnny Mnemonic, but man, having him in another Cyberpunk thing, and it made the conference for me.
Cool. That's good. No, I know that you specifically wanted to talk about that one. I didn't know why, but I thought it might be Keanu related.
Yep, that's it. It's like I was excited about the game anyway. Like it looks great, and then when Keanu Reeves was in it, it was like, oh yeah, that's going to be in my house.
Okay. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga was in there too, which I guess it makes sense that they're going to totally redo like the whole Skywalker Saga in Lego form, because otherwise you would be cramming in like 9 games worth of content, right? Which is, I don't know much outside of like, hey, it's Star Wars and it's Lego. I basically wanted to talk about it because you wanted to talk about it, I'm sure, right?
And I'm really curious. Like one thing I don't understand from the stuff that I've read is I think it's going to be all new levels, not the old games that they have. They have Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, which is the prequels and the originals, but this is remaking those in addition to 7, 8, and 9, and 7 already has a Lego game, and this is all new content, right? This isn't a repackage of those as a collection and then 8 and 9 getting their own game.
That's the way I read it. Was that it was totally renewed, like just new from the ground up.
I'm really wondering how much game there's going to be here. Like if it's going to be a normal Lego game, if it is going to be like maybe 3 times of a Lego game doing prequels, normal, and then sequel. It's like, I don't know. I'm really, really anxious to find out what they're doing here, because it's hard to go back and play the old Star Wars Lego games because they were the first ones that they did and they've improved so much. So seeing a modern take on those, which are already good, but this is going to be so much better, and I cannot wait, because Force Awakens was just an absolutely stunning Lego game. Did you ever get to play it?
No. I think I played one Star Wars Lego game at one point, but I'm just not a huge fan of the Lego games.
Right. And the Force Awakens is, I know it's Austin's favorite Lego game, and I think Marvel Superheroes is mine, but Lego Force Awakens is great. Like, we played through pretty much all of it in the DLC. It's super good. So I'm excited about this one just for that.
Cool. I await your report. I know you'll end up getting that one.
Oh, yeah. I'm amazed you're not, given that it's Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know. The Lego games don't do much for me. If it was not Lego and if it was just Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, I would be there for it. But no. Lego has a different feel, I think.
Yeah, it does.
So Phantasy Star Online 2 showed up.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm so excited.
Like, I've never looked into this game. The trailer that they showed was basically just straight up CG. And it looked super interesting, like the tone that they're going for. It looks like my kind of game, like the premise I could buy into. But I also get the feeling that that's probably like very much a CG trailer and not at all representative of gameplay. Is that fair to say? Or like, what do you know about this? I feel like you know more than I do.
Really weird, because this game came out in Japan in 2012. Like,
it's an old game.
This is a 7-year-old game that has a Vita version, that has a PS4 version, that has a Windows version, and we've just not had it in America. That this is an old Japanese I don't even want to call it an MMO, because it's a pseudo MMO kind of online game, and because of the way that it's the same kind of game as the original Phantasy Star Online, which was I know it was for Saturn and Dreamcast, I think, or one or the other, I can't remember at this point, but I'm really excited because I missed out on that particular thing, and I know that a lot of people loved it, so having this one is really exciting to me, because it's not the same kind of MMO. It's a different kind of online grouping RPG experience that's not the traditional like Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft or one of those. Like this one, I'm super excited about, because I mean, I've only heard good things. Like I've never heard anybody who's played this one say anything bad about it either. So it's just like, I want to experience the Phantasy Star Online stuff, and now I'm finally going to get to.
Yeah, I played the original Phantasy Star Online when it was on Dreamcast, and I don't know. I guess it depends how many advancements they've made since then. I bet that doesn't hold up, but also this game is much newer than that one would have been. So the trailer got me interested enough that I will try it out when it comes out if it's free. If not, I'll at least take a look at it and see what people are saying. So
I doubt it'll be free. I don't know. I don't think it was free anywhere else, but it's one of those where it could be a free-to-play game, but I don't think it is. I think it's more of an Overwatch game.
Oh, okay. I see. Well, I'll give it a look then. We'll say that. Tales of Arise, like the trailer did nothing for me because I don't really have the context for the series, but you're super into this series.
I am, and I really, really look forward to this. I'm super sad mostly that it's not on the Switch, that they've put it on Xbox and PC. I think PC, right? Xbox, PC, and PS4 maybe, the normal ones.
Probably.
And I haven't looked at the main site. I don't remember who it was that told me that the way that the site is worded for the game is that there will probably be a Switch version later. I'm not sure exactly what was said on it, but that's what somebody told me, which makes me want to kind of hold out from the release of this one. But I know I was telling you the other day that I want to play this, but I know that I may not initially, because I hesitate to play anything on the TV, because it just we have one TV. It's hard for me to grab the PS4 and just kind of hog that. And when I can do it on handheld, and like you said the other day, like pay half attention and just do something like that. And that's kind of the way I'm waiting on that potential Switch version. But it's pretty. Like, this game is pretty. Did you watch the trailers and stuff?
Yeah, I saw the trailer. It just felt generic to me because I didn't have any context for the series.
And I think it looks enough like the Tales series to appease me, where it's got that kind of anime-ish look. But I don't like necessarily the more realistic style of it. I would have preferred they go with more of a cel-shaded kind of what we've seen of like East 9. I think it was East 9 that I've seen, and East 8. Looking like that, because this one looks just a little more realistic with the monsters and stuff than I would want, but the characters are almost there. Like, I'm split on it, if you can't see.
Well, I mean, you like those games. I'm sure you'll give it a look once it comes out too.
I'm sure I will. Yeah. I mean, there's no way I won't. I'm just really hoping, I'm crossing my fingers for a Switch release eventually, which may come same way that Dragon Quest 11 is, just having to be done later because of the different hardware.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, speaking of hardware, like, that was kind of one of the big announcements, I guess, but you put big in like quotes, because they announced the next Xbox, which was basically known anyway. It's not like it was a secret, but they didn't give it a name, and they don't have the hardware, and you can't look at anything and react to it. It was just like talking about the processor and some of the technology inside of it. And, they gave it a project title, Project Scarlet, but I'm sure it's not going to be called Xbox Scarlet. It'll have a different name when it actually comes out. It has a release window, holiday 2020, which basically everybody expected. I guess some of the new stuff they talked about was like 4 generations of content. So I'm sure they're pulling up everything from, Xbox and 360 and Xbox One, trying to pull all of it up, for backwards compatibility, which I kind of expected, but it's still cool to see that they're supporting it. And they did a lot of talking about connecting across devices, especially with their like xCloud streaming, which is something that they also are rolling out at the same time. You can kind of see that this year is a half step towards where they're going to be when they launch this next year, where everything is like streaming and that architecture and infrastructure all ties together.
And I'm glad that they're doing it this way, instead of doing it all at once, trying to launch all of this, where they will get the cloud stuff and the crossplay done earlier so that they can work out those bugs before a project or before a console launch, because that could really break them. That if they did it all at once and didn't get it right, that could put them, they're in third place pretty much everywhere. And I'm amazed. I would be amazed that if they really fouled up this launch, if they were still going to be able to make hardware. Well,
and it's interesting too, because like the xCloud streaming, they talked about how you can stream your games from the cloud or from your own Xbox. And it's like, if you own the game already, it wasn't 100% fleshed out like how it's going to work, right? Like, if you own the game and it's installed on your Xbox, does that mean you can also stream it from the cloud for free? Maybe. I don't know. Like, they didn't explain.
I don't know.
But either way, it shows you that they want to add more streaming options so that you can play anywhere. They want you to be able to play on your tablet or play elsewhere around the house or on like any device. They basically want you to play on any device. And I really hope that PS4 goes for something similar, so you can play the games kind of anywhere that you happen to be. That would be fantastic. It seems like the future is heading that way in one way or another. We'll just have to see what that looks like. But I mean, it goes back towards Phil Spencer. He feels like an executive that actually like gets it. And he's like, I get the impression that he's actually like a video game player, and he just wants video games to be on all the platforms with all the crossplay, and you play games wherever you want. That's how he always comes across to me.
Every time I've ever seen an interview with him, that's exactly what it feels like. Like, he feels like one of us who has succeeded. And it like, really, he's a guy who went all the way through, loves sitting at home on his couch doing this kind of stuff, but gets to go to work in the morning and make the stuff he comes home to play. Like, he really does.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like, I think one of the most interesting announcements out of like E3, and it kind of leaked ahead of time, but just the stuff that they're doing with Xbox Game Pass. I mean, it's been around now for what, a couple years, year and a half, something like that. But it finally feels like it's getting to the point where it might be worth it. to do an Xbox Game Pass. Because, so the new details that they announced, right? It already existed in some form or another, but what it's going to be is you can get a PC only version of it for like Microsoft games on PC for $5 a month. You can do the Xbox One for $10 a month, which is basically what's there right now. Or you can get the Ultimate Edition, which is like all of the Xbox games and all the PC games, and it includes Xbox Live Gold for $15 a month. So if you start doing the math on it, basically, if you're going to buy 2 or more games during the year that are exclusive to Microsoft Studios, this could be a really good deal for you, especially if it's not a game that you care about like having in your digital library forever. If it's just something that you want to play through and then be done with, which honestly for me is like 95% of the games that I own, this might be just a totally valid way to play it. And then you also get access to all of their other games, because why not try them if you already have access?
And one thing that I'm curious about with what they've announced, because I didn't watch this entire press conference. Did Xbox Game Pass and what they're moving into the Project Scarlet, is it going to be streaming stuff like that, or is it a download and play like it is now? Because if it's download and play and be able to do it just whenever and not worry about connection or anything along those lines, I could see I could see me grabbing that and it being my next generation console, because of just that being how I would like to play games. Like, I'll pay $15 a month for the ability to download them, as many as I want like that, and just play them, but and have like live included. Like, that's what I loved about the PS Plus, when you got like PS3 and Vita games as well as the PS4 ones. It was just like, I get these free games, so of course I'm going to subscribe to this. And now I honestly feel like I'm not getting my money's worth, since they took the PS3 and Vita games away, and it makes me look at Xbox Game Pass with this and the way that they're looking at older consoles, like maybe that's where I need to spend my money next generation.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's how it's going to work. And like, the Xbox Game Pass is really the only thing that's getting me to actually consider the next Xbox, so I guess the Scarlet, for my next gen system. I still don't think it would be my primary console. I'm pretty set on like the PlayStation ecosystem, but even just considering that I might buy it, it would be because Game Pass. I mean, Game Pass, from everything they've shown, it looks like it would function the way that PlayStation Plus does, where you get free games with it. And The thing is, they're adding games a lot faster than PS Plus does, and they don't take games out of Game Pass, at least not that I know of that they do.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you're getting with it is, like, imagine if PS Plus gave you day one access to every PlayStation exclusive game. That is what Game Pass does for Xbox. So it's like any first-party title, anything developed by a Microsoft studio, on launch day, you can download it and play it if you're already subscribed. So it's like, it's so much cheaper and you can get into games right away. It just sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah, it seems like the kind of service that, I don't even know how to put it. Like, it seems like a kind of service that we should already have. And so I'm really excited to when it comes out. Like, I could totally see myself grabbing the PC version too, like, if nothing else, and playing those.
From this press conference alone, there were 34 games that were announced that were going to premiere on Game Pass, like on day one.
Oh, wow. I did not realize that many, like, wow.
Yeah,
exclusive.
I mean, that's why I think this is like one of the biggest stories of E3 is what they're doing with Game Pass. And it's weird that it's like such a big story, because Game Pass has existed already for like a year or two, or however long it's been. Mm-hmm. But this feels like the tipping point of where it's finally going to be worth it to more and more people, because like, I'm considering it and I've never truly considered it before.
The way that I could see it right now, this is making me lean way more heavily toward Xbox than PS5, because the stuff that Sony has announced so far, and they may, they'll change it, seems to be really hardware focused, graphics focused. They're going to have 8K SSD, super fast SSD stuff, and they've not really talked about any services. And with Xbox talking about the services, it makes me feel like they may be a little more, what's the word that I'm looking for here? They may be a little more like gamer centric as opposed to business centric, maybe, where I may actually get more value out of it than I would getting a PS5. The only way I can see myself, like right now with the stuff we know right now, if we had a handheld like a Vita 2 or whatever the next generation of Vita is that connected with PS5 for crossplay, that kind of thing, that would sell me on the PS5 over Xbox specifically.
But see, it's like Xbox is already going to do that for you. Just like hook up your controller to your, iPad or your phone or whatever and take it somewhere else in your house. Like you're going to get that experience already.
That is not untrue.
Yeah. I think that like that as a concept and just their approach to games for the next generation and Game Pass specifically, that's going to influence a lot of people. I mean, it's making me stop and think, right? Before I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just get a PS5. And now I'm like, well, maybe I should consider Xbox also. And for you, I mean, you're not one to like buy every system the way that I am. You're kind of
I used to be, but nowadays I'm not.
Right. But even just this alone, and me just telling you about it, you didn't even see all of the stuff that they're offering in the press conference. You're even thinking like, well, maybe Xbox instead of PlayStation. Like, I wonder how many people are in that boat.
Where it will take, generally, it's going to take a really, really amazing it will take a really, really amazing system seller, like system exclusive, to make me buy a console in addition when most of the things are cross-platform. And the Xbox One just doesn't have it, or I would probably do that. But if PS5 has something that I want and Xbox has this, I mean, I could really see myself getting both, but probably having Xbox be my main one. And if Xbox One is any indication, the games will be a little cheaper.
Maybe. It's very possible. So that was Xbox. I know that was a lot, but they had like a super long press conference. The Bethesda conference was up next. And honestly, like everything we saw was either stuff we knew about or stuff that I just personally found like boring or things that I wasn't interested in. The only one that I wanted to pull out here was Deathloop, because it's by Arcane, and Arcane does really interesting games. Even though I haven't loved all of them, every one has been worth looking at. And this is an Arcane game where they're doing a time loop story, and you know that I'm a sucker for time loop stories. Yep. So the premise here is cool, but there was no actual gameplay. So it's like, okay, I'll keep an ear out, right? Like, I'm not committing to, oh my God, I'm so excited, but it's definitely something that's intriguing to me.
And that one doesn't have my attention at all because I don't like time loop games. That Majora's Mask and Lightning Returns and those kind of games just don't get me. And so that one is like, I hope it's good for other people, but I know that I won't like it.
Okay. Devolver Digital was up next. They basically directly ripped off the Nintendo Direct format and the whole graphics package. So bravo to them. That was amazing. In terms of game announcements and stuff, nothing there was really worth our time. PC gaming happened after that. Again, kind of nothing fantastic there that grabbed my attention. But then Ubisoft, there was a bunch of stuff that I want to talk about. So Watch Dogs Legion is coming out, and it surprised me how interested I am in this game, because I tried the first Watch Dogs, and I probably talked about it on the podcast. I just bounced off of it hard. I wasn't interested at all. And when the second one came around, like I watched some trailers, it's like, oh, that's more of the same, whatever. This looks like a reinvention of it where there's no main character. It is a systemic game through and through. It's set in London. There's lots and lots of playable characters. You have the ability to recruit any NPC that's not actively hostile towards you, which is almost every NPC in the game. And you just gather a ton of characters, and all of them become part of DedSec, which I think is just like the faction from the first two games. It's like that hacker, good guy-esque faction. Individual characters that you recruit or that you can inhabit can die, but you can always recruit more, and you can always just jump into another operative. And there's just so many interesting systemic things going on in this one. I'm just so much more interested in this than any past Watchdog game.
Yeah, this is the only one that's ever grabbed my attention, where the others are like, yep, that's a thing. That's not for me. And this one's like, ooh, that one's neat.
Yeah, and I want to play as the old lady hacker that they showed off. She was amazing.
I know. I think everybody does. Like, that's been the absolute main like meme I've seen out of E3 is the old lady hacker.
My daughter just had a fit of giggles when we saw that. It was so hilarious. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Ubisoft also announced Uplay Plus. So I guess like streaming and subscription services are definitely a theme this year, especially if you include Stadia, which kind of came out, announcements came out before E3, but it's another thing where you can subscribe and you can get a package and whatever. But Uplay was $14 a month, and you just get access to all of the Ubisoft games, and you will also have access to them on Stadia, which is why it made me think of that.
which is a really good idea on their part, but it's a little strange to think because Stadia is subscription on its own too.
Well, it is and it isn't. It's weird. If you get the Founders Edition, then there's a subscription that comes with it that's like $10 a month, and that's if you want to stream 4K and 60 frames per second. But I think the one that's actually going to appeal to most people is the one that they haven't like officially given all the info about yet. It's just like the 1080p streaming, probably like 30 or 45 frames per second. And that one is going to be free, except you still have to buy the games, but they might have a subscription to games. They honestly need to give more information around the other subscription levels besides that like Founders Edition.
And I'm not sold on Stadia. Like, that's one where it's just not for me. That we've talked a lot on Discord and Slack about how we're not the target audience for Stadia. Those of us who really are like hardcore into getting every game, holding them, playing them, doing all of this. But with people who it is for, to be able to grab one and they're not concerned about being able to play the games that they buy maybe in 7 years, that where we may still go back to a digital library 7 years from now. I actually did that with Neverwinter this week. Just opened it. I was like, oh, wow, it's been since 2013 since I booted this up. But if they're not that kind of gamer, Stadia will probably be great for them. And to not have a subscription service just for the 1080p stuff, that's great. Like, that makes it more appealing to me because of it, even though I know that I won't have any part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with it. We'll have to keep watching while Stadia news comes out. But yeah, so Ubisoft got into, streaming or the subscription model with Uplay. But the other game that came out that like grabbed a lot of people's attention was Roller Champions. Did you see this one?
It looks so cool.
So it's out right now. You can play it. It's not.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not a full release, but there's a free alpha. So I downloaded that and I played it for like an hour last night. It's interesting. It feels like an alpha. It feels like it needs polish, but also there's enough of a core game there that has some interest that could work. I'm excited to see what it ends up being because it does feel like it needs a little bit of refinement. But yeah, me and my kids were playing it for like an hour last night and it was pretty fun.
Is it a PC or a console demo or alpha that they've got up?
I downloaded it on PC. I don't know if it's available on other places.
That makes me really, really happy because it looks super cool. And right now it's showing that play the demo on their website says June 10th to 14th. So I will totally be installing that this week just to try. Like you said, like that one. The trailer looks awesome. It looks like the kind of game that you can bounce in and out of and just have a good time with. Kind of like Rocket League. That's what it reminds me of. So I really, really want to give this a shot now.
Yeah, and they said it'll be free to play when it comes out too. So everybody should get to play it at some point. Then the last one for Ubisoft that I want to call out was Gods and Monsters, because this one looks fun. This one looks like a game that's like right up my alley. It's a mythology game, but it's by the Assassin's Creed team. They basically said they wanted to make a game where they could do all the things they can't do in Assassin's Creed, because even though Assassin's Creed keeps going more and more off the rails, they still try to keep it grounded in reality, which is very, very debatable. But because they do that, they can't go like off the rails with it all the way. And this is the game where the Assassin's Creed team just got to do whatever they wanted to. So they made a game around mythology, and it honestly looked between the trailer and some of the like previews that I was reading, it sounds like a mix between Assassin's Creed and Breath of the Wild, two games that I absolutely like. Well, a series and then a game that just I absolutely love. So like this is the type of game that I'm super interested in.
I'm usually not a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed games. I mean, that kind of game, I'll get kind of bored with them. This one, I'm keeping an eye on so that I can watch for it and see what people think for day one. Like, this one really interests me.
Okay, cool. So that was kind of Ubisoft highlights. Square Enix, let's come back to Final Fantasy VII Remake, because there's probably a lot to say there. But outside of Final Fantasy VII Remake, they announced Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is getting remastered, and it's coming out on PS4, Switch, and mobile, which I played that a little bit when it came out, but I would definitely revisit it, I think.
I didn't get to play it when it came out, and I'm so sad about it because my friends weren't really into doing it. They didn't have the GBAs as well to hook up to the GameCube to do the multiplayer stuff. So this one I'm super excited for, and the main thing I'm hoping for is that PS4, Switch, and the mobile versions are connected with crossplay instead of just being like Switch and mobile or something. I hope PS4 comes to play.
Yeah, hopefully. That'd be cool. I hope it's crossplay on everything, especially you never know how big the player base will be. But Dragon Quest XI got a release window. It doesn't have a date, right?
I think actually it got a release date today.
I should say on Switch because the game's already out. But I know you've been waiting for the Switch version.
And I'm really excited about the Switch version. They're including a whole bunch of extra content. They showed off a little bit more of it. They showed a little bit more today during the Nintendo press conference. And I think that it was Data Error who told me that I'd actually missed a date, that it was the last week of September is what the Nintendo one announced. So that will be a day one purchase for me on that, where it looks like they're including all sorts of extra content that they've not really announced what it is, extra story stuff, extra marriage options, and hopefully you'll get the I don't remember what it's called. The Karuchi is a fifth party member that you can get, or an extra party member that you can get in the Japanese 3DS version that you couldn't get in America, and hopefully it's in this one because you get the 2D version as well. So
cool.
Looks so cool.
Yeah, I know. Knew you would be interested in that one and excited. And you can talk about it in depth on your other podcast and play through Dragon Quest XI again. So it gives you another excuse.
Oh, yeah, I am. I'm gonna. Yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of that.
There was a new Shadowbringers trailer for Final Fantasy XIV, which I'm excited about, but it was mostly kind of a lore dump, which was interesting for me, but probably not for most people who haven't played the game. There was a couple that you want to talk about. So Romancing Saga 3 and Saga Scarlet Grace, which both of them are like older games, but it looks like they're being kind of slightly remastered and brought to modern systems, right?
I don't think they've ever been released in America. If I understand right, this is the first time that we've had them in English. And I might be wrong, but that's the way I understand it, where the Saga games like Saga Frontier are very, very, very loved. And I think this is the first time that we get these in the West to play. So with them both being on Switch, it's going to be awesome.
Cool. They had War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and as much as I've tried and bounced off of Brave Exvius, this looks like it might be a way to get me into it because it's basically a Final Fantasy Tactics game, and I think it's on mobile. I don't know. I didn't write it down here, but that makes sense to me.
I don't know if they said.
They might not have.
I'm not sure if they said if this one was mobile or not. Like, it looked like it could be. It also looked like it could be a Switch, and they also said that they're moving into making the Brave Exvius games into a universe, like making Lapis be a series of games kind of like Ivalice is.
Yeah, so this is the first one that's an extension of the existing Brave Exvius, and it's going to be some kind of tactics game, that's for sure. But the tactics part is what got my attention.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
They had a game called Anunnaki, which I feel like I've seen a couple places, but you're interested in this one, right?
I'm really interested in this one, and it's done by the Tokyo RPG Factory folks, where they did like the I Am Setsuna and I think Lost Sphere, where those games didn't really grab me, but this game is kind of a cel-shaded, pretty cartoony, stylized action RPG, and it's just. I think this one's going to get me. I think the way that they're talking about it's like based on reincarnation, and the story is based around having to deal with the spirits of people who aren't being reincarnated. Maybe it just looks really interesting for a pretty action RPG. So a top-down kind of isometric action RPG. So I'm hoping it's good.
And then next they had Final Fantasy VIII Remaster, which we kind of thought this would maybe never actually happen, but it's coming out on everything, including the Switch, which that makes me happy. It's kind of like finally closing the loop on the older Final Fantasy games. This one has been the odd man out for a really long time.
And it's weird. We've talked about this one recently about how it's weird that it's the odd man out, but I'm glad that we're getting it. And I guess that's about all there is. Like, that's a day one purchase for me. And I've got it on PC. I've talked to some other people today about it where you can already play it in HD, but the big thing for me is being able to play it handheld. Like, it's such a big deal to be on Switch, and I'm so glad that they're doing it.
Yeah, Switch is the right fit for some of these Final Fantasy remasters, for sure. And then the other big game that wasn't Final Fantasy VII, we'll come back to it, I promise, it was Avengers. And I feel very mixed on this game. What did you think?
I'm very mixed on it too, because well, I'm sold on that they said the DLC was going to be free. They said that there weren't going to be loot boxes, no pay to win stuff, and that new superheroes and areas are coming, and they're no extra cost. So it's an Overwatch type game for the extra content. But everything else, I'm kind of not sold on. The story sounds like it could be interesting. I like the voice actors they have in it. Troy Baker is one of my favorite video game voice actors, and Nolan North is awesome too, and I can't remember the others right now. But it's weird that it's like hyper realistic graphics and they don't look anything like the MCU characters, which is fine. Like that's fine. I understand why they're doing that. I disagree.
I don't think it's fine, because the MCU is such a cultural juggernaut right now that is what is in everybody's minds, right? You can't just take those actors' likenesses and put them in a game, and I understand that. But they went hard the other direction. Like, it feels like they took every iteration of every one of these characters, right? Like, imagine every Iron Man ever, and now take all of those and just mash them into the most generic version of Iron Man that you could possibly imagine, and that's what's in this game. That's what it feels like they did for every hero. They're just like the most generic version of Thor, and it just bothers me. Like, I did not like the character designs at all.
I didn't like the character designs even a little. Like, the only reason I say that I understand why they did it is because they're trying to tell their own story completely separated from the MCU. But the story, I'm remotely interested in. The voice acting in the clips that they showed was very good, very high quality stuff. But it looked, Rob said it on Twitter today, that it looked like people cosplaying. Like, that's the way it felt. And for some reason, Captain America looks like he was Captain America wearing Thor's fat suit from Endgame and had just a couple too many beers. Like, he looks, I don't know, he does not look like Captain America to me. Even looking at comic book Captain America, this guy is like the Spider-Man in Into the Spider-Verse. This is old janky broke hobo Captain America.
Yeah,
I do not like him.
I could see that. It's weird. So a bunch of the things in this game that were like just caught my attention. Hawkeye gets left out for like no apparent reason, right? After him being such a core part of the MCU Avengers, like they have all of the other ones from the MCU and no Hawkeye. It's like, if you're going to do an Avengers game and make it your own, you either have to go like a different direction and do a different team totally, or just include the people that you expect from the movie. So having one person left out feels really strange. And then it's single player and it's also co-op. So that's kind of like, okay, what kind of game are you going for here? And then like, it might be good. Like it might be a good game. The problem is, the whole trailer, you couldn't tell what was CG and like what was a cutscene and what was gameplay, or if we even saw any gameplay.
Right. And that's the part where I am really hesitant about this game, because they didn't show a HUD, they didn't show any kind of UI, they didn't show controls or anything that is gameplay. And so I'm really hesitant about it because I don't know what I'm going to be playing. Like, I know what Marvel Ultimate Alliance is. I know what I'm going to be playing, and I am stoked for this game. This one, I want to be really excited about it, but like, I feel like the audience in this one, where people were live and there was the Crystal Dynamics dude who was like, and we have this new, gave these superheroes made our very own Crystal Dynamics version of these characters, and people were like, yeah, okay. Like, there was this just tepid response from people in the audience, and it was embarrassing. Like, the guy who announced it was embarrassing anyway. Like, I don't know what that guy was doing. He was way too on, but like, trying way too hard. But this game, I don't know, it seems like they dropped the ball on the announcement that they were building up.
Yeah, it really does. It's going to be out on everything except for Switch, which kind of makes sense. And then it's also in that May 2020 release window.
Yep.
So yeah, man, the summer of 2020 is just looking so full of releases. I really hope that the impressions start coming back from the show floor, which I haven't seen any for Avengers yet, just because we're recording on Tuesday. Like, it's still early. The rest of the actual press out there is going to spend the rest of the week at E3, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it by the end of the week. But as of us recording, we just have the trailer to go off of, and it looks very mixed, I guess, is the best way to put it.
And I think I've figured out why, like specifically, this one is more disappointing to me than it would have otherwise been. Because Spider-Man, you could tell immediately that it was going to be amazing. Like it was,
totally.
Like it was there was no way about that game when you first saw it. I was like, I saw it and I was like, yep, I'm buying a PlayStation 4 for that game. This game is like, maybe I'll sell my PlayStation 4 so I don't have to have this one. It's like, I don't know. There's something about it where Spider-Man was so good that this one looks like they're trying and missing.
Yes. Spider-Man, you could immediately tell that the team that made it gets Spider-Man and is going to pay it off. This one, I am not sold at all. So we'll watch for impressions to come back. The main thing probably for us from the Square Enix press conference was Final Fantasy VII, because I think you and I had very different reactions to it. But before we talk about that, it also is releasing in March 2020.
Yeah, and March 3rd.
Yeah, it's so just some of the stats. It's the first game only, right? Because they're going to release this as multiple parts of. It's very unclear whether it's like multiple games or if they're just going to call it like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 and then Part 2. I don't know, but they're going to sell you this for $60. So it is a standalone game. And this game is only going to be Midgar, but they said it's going to be an expanded Midgar, which it would basically have to be. I mean, they said it's going to be on 2 Blu-ray discs to fit all the content on. And I've played Final Fantasy VII multiple times, right? If you take your time and you're lazy about it, Midgar is like 6 hours start to finish in that game. And I don't know how you flesh that out into 2 Blu-rays worth of content without greatly expanding what's happening there.
I expect that they're going to be expanding a lot of the side characters and side stories that didn't get really talked about. We're probably going to get to go inside Avalanche a lot more. We're probably going to get to see more of the corruption in Midgar, and we're probably just going to explore the city a lot more instead of being kind of confined like we were in the original. And I'm expecting a bunch from that because 2 Blu-ray discs, like I've never heard of a game that has 2 Blu-ray discs. Like, am I wrong in saying that this is the first one? Because I don't know of any.
There might be some RPGs out there that are like crazy long RPGs, but there are not a whole lot. I can't remember any off the top of my head.
I can't either, and that's why I asked, because for it to be on 2 Blu-ray discs, it makes me wonder if it's like heavily CG been part of it, like how much gameplay is in there versus how much story, because I mean, just graphics wise, if you're doing it all with an in-game engine, it shouldn't be more than 1 Blu-ray. I mean, I don't know. It's just for some reason, it being on 2 Blu-ray discs, I can't quite figure out why, and I can't imagine anything but like Xenosaga vert level of content and storytelling.
Well, and they're doing something with this story. Like, they have to be stretching it out. But you can tell, even just from the trailer, right, that there are scenes that didn't exist before. And then there's stuff like Sephiroth is here, and he's talking to Cloud in Midgar. And that never happened. Like, that's just not in Final Fantasy VII. And the other thing that's interesting to me is, like, all this time, all this effort into Midgar. And it's Part 1 or it's Game 1 or whatever they call it. So if your favorite character isn't Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, or Aeris, you're out of luck. Like, you're not going to see your favorite character. Just nope, not in this game at all.
Yep.
And like, I guess, Red 13 is like barely in it at the end, but I don't think they would make him a playable character just unless they do something radically different right at the end of the Midgar story. And the other part is, what if they never make a Part 2 or Part 3? Like, that is such a Square Enix thing where what if they only release the first part and then it like fizzles, or they just don't follow up, or they don't close it down and like finish it out? I could see that happening.
It's not even just that I can see that happening. I am more afraid of that happening than them finishing it. That I'm really, based on everything they've done, they've canceled so many things like that. I mean, the Final Fantasy 13 DLC got that they never finished the story in Final Fantasy 13 because you never got the snow part of 13-2, and it's just different things never got finished. And 15, you're having to get a novel. I'm really worried about this because like Sid and Vincent aren't going to be in this part of it. It's I don't know. I just don't know what they're doing with this game, man.
I don't either. And we didn't even talk about the combat. Like, that was one of the biggest reveals, was actually showing off the combat and talking about it. So it's a real-time action RPG where you're like attacking in real time, and you're filling up. By attacking, you fill up like ATB bars, and the ATB bars, once they get filled, you can use those to do like special attacks where you don't pause time completely, but you slow down time to the point where you might as well have paused it. And that was
Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Yeah, and that was really interesting to me. Like, the fact that you can fill these up and then you can go into this tactical mode where it's like super slow-mo, it's almost turn-based, and that's where you can use spells, and I'm assuming summons and special abilities and all of that kind of stuff. Like, that made the game a lot more interesting to me than just the hack and slash that I was expecting. But you said, if anything, it pushed you more away from it.
It made it more interesting. Don't get me wrong. It made it more interesting, but I'm also like mega hesitant about it, because that reminds me so much more of Final Fantasy 12, because I play it on wait. And so anytime I need to use an ability or anything manually that's not set up in a gambit, I can open the menu and pause it, then do it, and go back to the typical combat. And that's essentially what this is. And so it just seems like it's not doing anything fun with it, because the right now, the way that they're showing the damage in the boss fight, it took forever. That boss fight did not look fun. And
yeah, I mean, I don't want this to be a 40-hour like game in just Midgar. Like, Final Fantasy VII, it wasn't actually that deep of a story. It was for the time, but it's not really an overall deep story in that game. And I don't want to spend 40 hours in Midgar, and I'm afraid that's what's going to happen.
And I mean, I want this game to be good. I mean, I naysay this game a lot because I am terribly jaded, I guess is the best way to put it, disillusioned by Nomura's games right now. And I want this game to be good, even though Final Fantasy VII is absolutely middle of the road Final Fantasy for me. And that's fine. It's still a good game. I want this one to be great. But everything they're doing and showing makes me just wonder what in the world they're doing. Like, I don't understand the development decisions that they're making.
I don't either. We'll have to wait to see more. But I mean, again, this is another one that we're going to get impressions back from journalists who are on the game or on E3 show floor. So later this week, we'll probably know more about it. One way or another, we'll probably have more fleshed out feelings.
And all that said, all that said, I did pre-order the special edition of it this morning.
Of course you did.
Well, I wanted to make sure I got it because it actually is a really, really cool looking steel book and art book and everything in it. Like, it really does look like a special edition that's worth grabbing. And but there's I can't remember what they call it, like first class special edition that you can get that has everything in the main one and a statue of Cloud on the motorcycle. It goes from being $70 or $80, maybe $79.99 for the original one, the regular collectors, to $329, and the only difference is that statue.
That's a lot.
That's a lot absurd.
Yeah.
Like, I looked at it, I was like, I wonder if I should buy one of these super special edition ones and keep it unsealed or keep it sealed and then sell it in, like, when this one, when people are like, I wish I'd gotten that one, and then I saw it was $329 and I'm like, hard pass. That's too much. Like, I know people who've paid $200 for, like, the Heavensward collector's edition and regretted it. I paid $200, I think, for the Old Republic collector's edition and regretted it. And you fool me once, Square Enix, but you don't fool. Well, they didn't even fool me, but you fool me once. $329. That's not even fool me twice territory. That's just like take my wallet away from me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, just go buy a new Nintendo Switch instead or something.
Yeah, like, exactly.
At that price, that's a lot. Yeah. So that was Square Enix, and then to round out the show, Nintendo. Nintendo was earlier this morning. So as of us recording, this was like 6 hours ago. This is fairly new. I guess the one thing that's like Nintendo press conference adjacent that wasn't actually in the Nintendo Direct happened right before E3. It was a Pokemon Direct that is probably going to get kind of buried with all the E3 news, but it's worth calling out that Pokemon Sword and Shield, the Legendaries, got got announced, and it got a release date of November 14th of this year. The interesting things that are actually worth calling out, so you guys don't have to watch 20 minutes of Pokemon footage if you're not interested. There's a thing called Dynamax, which is like the gimmick for this, what are they called? This region?
Yeah, region.
Where your Pokemon can become gigantic for like 3 turns. It's basically like a kaiju game, like in a way, which is really funny and really interesting. I don't know how interesting it is. It's funny, and it'll be a cool little gimmick just while you play through the game. And then the other thing, the part that I'm actually excited about, was wild areas. So it looks like there's finally a mode in Pokemon where you can go wander around third person in a big open world, and it's not just these narrow paths like we've always been trapped on in all the other Pokemon games.
Yeah, and even in like safari zones and stuff like that, you're still in these very constricted and constrained areas. In the wild areas, it's just Breath of the Wild. Like, they did show us that we're getting that the exploration part of Breath of the Wild, at least in these wild areas between cities, where they're going to be habitats of the Pokemon, and you can camp out with them and stuff like that, they've said.
That's what I want. That's what I want an entire Pokemon game to be like. So I am interested to see if it's actually like that throughout everywhere that's not a city, or if it's only a couple select things that they're like, ooh, wild area, here's a special thing, and then the rest of it is still on rails paths. I really hope it's not that. I hope it's like everything is just open.
I do too. I really, really do. And I'm also excited about the raids that you can do, because with the Dynamax Pokemon, you can now get into a 4-person raid with online people, they said, at least, so that you could take on these gigantic Pokemon, these gigantic Pokekaju, and
there you go.
You can fight these and with other people, and you can capture them and do all of this. Like, one person can do it, but they didn't say whether you could do it with friends. Like, they're really weird about the online stuff right now, like Mario Maker, and they said that you could do it with random online people, but I don't know. They didn't say anything about your friends.
I think they said you can with friends, like in person Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like
it was
in the
local.
Yeah, but I don't know if they said anything about playing with friends online, which is, like you said, that's where Nintendo always falls apart. It's really, really strange.
Yeah, it was really odd. I don't know why they do stuff like that, but you can do it with friends, kind of, we know. Yeah, you're right. Something. It was local multiplayer.
So that was most of the Pokemon news. Again, that came out like a day or two before E3 officially started, but it's basically part of E3. Yeah. So there was a ton of Nintendo news announced, but the Luigi's Mansion 3 was one of the things, and my daughter just like loves Luigi's Mansion, so that was one that I had to call out as something that's coming out.
She's the first thing I thought about. Like whenever they announced this and it started playing, I was like, oh, she's gonna love this.
Yeah, no, she'll be super excited for that one, which is awesome. And then Link's Awakening got a release date, the Link's Awakening remaster. And the other thing that was, the release date is September 20th of this year, which we knew was going to come out this fall. We just didn't know the exact date.
It's also the same date, Austin told me, as the Ni no Kuni remaster on Switch, which is unfortunate.
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, just that like so many games are coming out.
Oh, yeah, cool thing. We've got so many good games. Nintendo by far was absolutely the best of the press conferences, if you ask me.
Yeah, if anything, we're glossing over more Nintendo stuff than any of the other conferences just because there was so much.
I think it was the densest.
Yeah. So the other thing with Link's Awakening is that you can create your own dungeon now by like placing rooms and tiles you gather. And it looked like it was not necessarily a multiplayer shareable experience, but it was like a single player thing you can do in your own game to earn rewards or something along those lines.
Yeah, I don't exactly get it, but what they had in the video at E3 was that they put this dungeon together, it showed them going through it, and then getting a giant fairy bottle at the end of it as treasure. And so you collect these chambers and you put them together in whatever order you want. So you really get to make your own dungeon out of stuff in Legend of Zelda. It's like, that is awesome. That's just so much fun.
The other thing that I was super interested in from the Direct was Fire Emblem Three Houses. I mean, it still looks like something that I'm super into. So I don't know if there's anything like new or groundbreaking there, but we already knew the release date and all that stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, more Fire Emblem. Awesome. I'm excited. It's in like a month and a half now. So it's coming close. But they announced a bunch of stuff about like the Mana games that you were interested in, right?
Yeah, like ever since I was a teenager, I've wanted to play Seiken Densetsu 3, the third Mana game, because Secret of Mana was the second one in the series. Adventure of Mana was released in the United States as Final Fantasy Adventure on the Game Boy, and then later remade onto a mobile game and like Vita game, I think. And the third one has never been made here. So right now you can download the digital version of what they're calling Collection of Mana that has all three games in English, obviously, talking to you guys, that has Adventure of Mana, Secret of Mana, and the new Trials of Mana, which is the third one, Seiken Densetsu 3, that's been localized and put into English, and it's the old version of it. And that's available today. They've also announced a global release of Trials of Mana as a 3D remake that has on everything. It's very pretty. It's an action RPG, and it's releasing in early 2020. So they're doing both of these on the Switch, and you can also right now go and pre-order a physical version of the Collection of Mana that's not out yet on their website, on Square Enix's website. It's the only place that you can get it. So it's like I'm really tempted to pick up Collection of Mana right now just to play through the third one, even though I haven't played the first or second one in forever and a day and never finished the second one.
That's a lot of Mana news. I'm kind of surprised Square Enix didn't have that in their conference, but they saved it for Nintendo.
It's the Nintendo one.
Yeah. Cool. And then Witcher 3 is coming to the Switch, which you said you're finally going to get it, right?
It's finally going to be somewhere that I want to get it. Like, you and everyone else I've ever talked to on the internet has told me how much that I would enjoy The Witcher. Like, the story is just magnificent. The world is great. And part of the reason I haven't bought it is just being locked in front of my computer, because it's kind of work area, because I have my monitors and everything in here, and I don't want to spend that much extra time in front of my computer and sitting in here, and The Witcher is going to let me not do that. Or the Switch version of The Witcher is going to let me not do that, where I can get the entire thing. I will pay the Nintendo tax on this one to experience it, and have it where I can either play it on the TV, on the couch, or in my handheld. Like, yeah. I'm excited for this because I know it's amazing, and I've been waiting for something like this. So it kind of surprised me earlier this week when I heard it rumored, and I'm glad that it was announced today.
It sounds like a good fit for you, which is always a good thing. And then Astral Chain was another one that you were super interested in. To me, it was kind of whatever. Like, I don't know. I'll look at it, but I'm not very interested yet. But you seemed super excited.
I am all in on Astral Chain. Like, this is the kind of game and cartoon and movie, anime, everything. I don't even know what to say. The kind of media that is exactly the kind of world that I love. It's this weird extra-dimensional sci-fi Earth is under attack by demons I think they're called chimeras. And so you go into this dimension, people are being stolen away into that dimension, and then you apparently are connecting to some of the chimeras, and they're called the legions, and you get powers from them, and you connect to them like you're partnered. And like, I can't remember, like, this reminds me of something. Like, I can't quite place what, like, being, like, connected to a particular, like, bonded to this creature to give you powers reminds me of. It's, like, on the tip of my tongue, but it reminds me of something that I love that I can't quite just place at the moment. And they've shown some gameplay after the Nintendo press conference during some of the Treehouse stuff that I've only seen snippets of, where you're like riding a motorcycle and in like all just this beautiful tunnel with all the colors. It's an action game. Like, there's no way that this is not an action game now. Like, there was a little bit of curiosity when they first announced it, but I am very excited for this. I want to say cyberpunk style game, but it's really just this really, really stylized sci-fi world, and it's perfect for me. And it comes out in August.
This fall too. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was going to be so soon. I expected this to be a 2020 game.
Yeah, I thought it was a little farther out too. I was kind of surprised that it came out this fall. But one last thing in that crazy release window at the beginning of 2020, Marvel Ultimate Alliance was on show, which, again, not a lot of new information there, except just to say I'm still excited about it, and I fully intend to play this game with my kids, and I think you're going to get it too.
Yeah, they had sold me when they the characters that were in it were like, they showed Captain Marvel, they've got Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. Now they showed Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen as well. So I'm there. Like they got everyone I cared about, and then they started putting in like Fantastic Four, Marvel Knights characters. Like it looks like the animated X-Men characters is really what the logo looked like for expansion passes. Like I'm so excited just to play this. I know Jennifer and I are going to play the heck out of this one.
Well, and then Animal Crossing made an appearance too. It just enough of an appearance to say that it's delayed, which is sad for a lot of people who were expecting it this year. But I guess we know that it's some kind of deserted island, which is fairly normal. Well, I don't know, island. They've done a lot of different approaches to Animal Crossing, but it looks like an Animal Crossing game. I know you don't really play them, but I've played them off and on. And I know a lot of people really love them. So This one basically got pushed back to also March of 2020, just, when all of the other games come out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it sounds like details are slowly leaking out because it's been on Treehouse. So they're streaming a bunch of content from it, even though it wasn't in the direct.
I think that the director and the designer are either they were on the Treehouse this afternoon or going to be tomorrow. So either way, the people who are listening to this right now can go on YouTube and look up the Treehouse if they're interested in Animal Crossing and get more information from those people, because it's happened in the past for you, in the future for us.
Yep. And then there was a rapid fire, just a lot of other games in there too. I know Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, we already kind of touched on. The Ni no Kuni 1 remaster, you were interested in that one, right?
I'm interested in that one because I haven't played Ni no Kuni 1. It was originally a 3DS game that got made into the United States, completely redone with Ni no Kuni on the PS3. So I didn't get to play it. I actually returned Austin's copy to him because I didn't get to it quickly enough and he wanted to play it again. And so I'm going to get this remaster on the Switch. But what's interesting is that they also announced a remaster for the PS4 and Xbox One, and they have extra content that the Switch version doesn't. So it's weird that they did that. I don't know what the choices were, but I'm going to play the Switch version because, I've made that very clear.
Yeah, you have. They also had Just Dance 2020, which is one that I probably should have called out because it was in the Ubisoft conference, but it showed up here too, so it reminded me. My kids really want this game. I don't know why, and I don't know how they've seen it. I guess they just want to dance, which is totally fine. But it's something where it's like there's been a Just Dance game for everything, every year for, I don't even know, is it 10 years now or something? It feels like a really long time.
It's been a really long time. It's been since the regular Wii has been out, because I think that's where the first Just Dance came out, Xbox and Wii for Kinect and the Wii, and 2020 is going to still be released on the original Wii.
I know, it's crazy.
Not Wii U. They're skipping the Wii U. Nobody plays it. The Wii, the white or black Wii, is getting Just Dance 2020, and then all the modern consoles.
Yeah, it's super weird.
I don't understand why, but I love it. I love them for doing that because they know their market still has a Wii, and they're going to buy this game, that they're buying enough Just Dance games on the Wii to be able to justify that.
There must be a market for it. There's got to be. I mean, they know it.
They do. And that's why I love it. I love that they know their market so well.
Yeah, for sure. And then, kind of one of the biggest things was the tease right at the end, right? There's another Breath of the Wild coming, and it doesn't have an official name yet, but you and I are also making comments about Mario Maker 2, but what are you typing right now? Sorry, we're getting sidetracked.
So they announced obviously Mario Maker 2 is coming in. My comment when I was writing all this stuff down was "durr" when they showed it during the highlight reel. Your response is not "durr," and mine
I'm
now
excited for it. I want that game.
No, but that's the thing. I wasn't going "durr" because Mario Maker 2. I was going "durr." Obviously, it's coming out. We knew that "durr."
Oh, okay. I see. So Breath of the Wild 2. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the thing. So it's not DLC. It's an actual full new game. And there was a teaser trailer, and they announced it, even though it doesn't have a name. I'm guessing it's not going to be called Breath of the Wild 2. But your notes here basically say Link and Zelda find an ancient evil and it awakens, and then Hyrule Castle kind of smokes and explodes, and then there's green tentacles and grossness floating around. I think that's a pretty good summary of what we saw.
Like that's what I got out of it, and it's also what made me excited about it as well. Like I've seen people talking since then that Zelda looks like she's going to have more of an action-oriented role in this one, that it was really highlighting her doing stuff. But I'm excited about this one, but I'm probably less excited about this than a lot of things because there's just so much stuff that we know is coming out, and this was a teaser that said this is in development, that a sequel to Breath in the Wild is being developed, and so it's like, and that it's not DLC, that this is a full-fledged expansion, they said, or a full-fledged sequel, not an expansion, not DLC. So it's like, I'm excited because of that, but I'm more excited because of stuff that's more imminent.
Yeah, me too. Totally. But I am excited for it because I love that game. It was fantastic.
And I'm glad that they're not throwing away the engine. Like, that part is really what was really noteworthy about it to me, is because with Link's Awakening, it looked like there could have been a very easy moving on from that style of Zelda like they do every other time they make a Zelda game. And this time they're sticking with the open world for a sequel to this one. That
it usually deserves it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's why I'm stoked about it, is because this actually marks a change in how they make Zelda games, because there's always something that's different, and hopefully this one is a sequel in the best way possible.
Yeah, hopefully. And I mean, if they cut out the Wii U, which I assume they will, that would be great, because they can actually do more with the Switch hardware.
Mm-hmm.
It would be so good.
And first-party games always take the best advantage of it, and I haven't played Breath of the Wild on the Switch. I mean, I played it on the Wii U, so I'm excited to see what a sequel can do now that they know what they're doing on that hardware and what works and what doesn't with the game.
Yeah, awesome. So that's E3, I guess, in a nutshell. Those are our highlights from E3. There's a lot more that we didn't talk about, but we're trying to keep this to roughly an hour, even though I'm sure we've run over already. And before we sign off for the week, what do we have for the offer this week?
This week, I want to talk to you guys about Podcoin again. It is a fantastic app that you can download so that you can listen to all of your favorite podcasts, including ours, on your phone and get paid for it. And for realsies, I mean get paid for it, where you earn points called Podcoins that every minute you listen, I think it's every 10 minutes you listen, actually, you get a certain number of Podcoins that you can then cash in for gift cards. So do that, listen to us, and we can get promotion from them. They get promotion from us, and it is a wonderful relationship. They are nice people as well. I very much enjoyed talking with them over emails, and they are coming for a lot of improvements in the app. So it is coming that you can make this your very favorite and daily use podcatcher. So it's very good. I use it a lot myself.
Very cool. And then, of course, don't forget about the network. You guys know all of these, so I'm going to go fast this week because we're in a weird format. But Geektitude, Tea Time with Katie and Chelsea, and, of course, Capsule J and Troidal are our streamers. And the Geekery, the blog that is constantly getting new updates. We have Austin's Dragon Quest, and then 13th Story, always giving good new articles on there. That's probably about it for this week. We'll get back to a more normal format next week. But for now, you can write to us with comments, suggestions, or feedback. Our email address is geek2geekcast@gmail.com, or reach us on Twitter @geek2geekcast. We also have longer discussion threads on our subreddit at reddit.com/r/geek2geekcast.
We also have great discussions on Slack and Discord, so you can go to geek2geekmedia.com for invite links so that you can hang out with all of us and check out all the other content on the network.
I blog at agreenmushroom.com, and you can find me at grnmushroom. That's green mushroom without the E's on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter as @Professor Beej. That's Beej with 2 E's, and you can listen to me even more on the Dragon Quest FM podcast.
We've been Void Beej with your Geek to Geek podcast. That'll do it for this week. See you next week, geeks.
Bye, geekos.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie.
And I'm Chelsea, and we are the hosts of Tea Time with Katie and Chelsea. We are two best friends who love pop culture and talking about pretty much whatever we want. Katie!
Yes?
Stop thinking about Zac Efron and tell our future listeners what some of our latest episodes have been about.
Well, we've talked about Zac Efron.
No, get it together, Katie.
Fine. We've talked about fan fiction, classical literature adaptations, favorite TV couples, and so much more. So grab your cup of tea or whatever your drink of choice is and download our podcast today.
Hi, my name is Joe Hogan, and I'm a geek. And if you're currently listening to this, there's a good chance you're a geek too. So check out my podcast, Geektitude. Each week, I talk with somebody about their geek aptitude. Sometimes I talk to people in a geeky profession. Sometimes it's someone doing something really cool with their geekiness. Often it's another geeky podcaster. But it's always someone who wants to share their inner geek. So join me each week as we come together to geek out about all the geeky stuff we love. And remember, this week, keep it geek.
Hello friends, this is Troidal Power inviting you to join me over on Twitch most weeknights, sometime after dinner. Video games have always been a social hobby for me, with friends and family crammed together on a couch chatting away while someone holds the controller. And thanks to the power of the internet, I've got my own virtual couch over on Twitch where you can kick back and goof off while I play games. Find me on Twitch by searching Troidal Power, that's Troytle Power, to snag a spot on the couch.